Hello everybody, welcome to Inside the Majors. We've had quite a busy week around the majors in the last couple of weeks, and today we're going to be running down what's happened as well as interview the standout performer from the Speedway 500, Robert Northway. Now, it's sort of strange to talk about the next episode before we even get this one started, but I just wanted to let everybody know to keep an eye out in only a week's time where the next episode will be coming out, where we'll look ahead to round 5 of the Speed MEC, update you on the Majors 24 with BOP reveals, broadcasting info and some other details that you're going to want to know, as well as release plans for the Majors Teams Championship, what you might think of as the MEC, but might be a little different but similar in the second half of the year. So can't wait to share what our plans are with you for that. Let's get cracking for this episode of the podcast, which is episode number 41.
G'day everyone, Richard here, co-founder of Speed. Chris and I started this business to create the best sim racing glove, one that's lightweight, breathable and super grippy. We have a range of clean motorsport-inspired designs and most importantly, they're great value, shipped right to your door almost anywhere in the world. We love the guys at Majors and we're proud supporters of the MEC. When you buy your gloves at suitspeed.com, make sure you use the discount code MAJORS at checkout for 10% off. See you on track.
The Speedway 500, the inaugural race for the majors way back 13 years ago, means it's a special event each and every year. It's one of the races that bring once-a-year drivers to us, and so it was again this year, with a lot of new faces on the grids and plenty of specialists raising the bar for the major series regulars. The change to hybrid for the IR18 this year meant racing was certainly different to years past, with the draft no longer a free kick passing on the straights, and the extra weight meaning corners were corners again. And so to the results. In International, it was Robert Northway, who is our guest today and a name you're about to hear on repeat, who converted his pole position to victory, though there was certainly a challenge from Anna Klemic, who actually led over half the laps. Last year's International Pro Champion Ewan Baker came home third for a strong points day as well. Championship leader heading into the event, Ben Doughty, though, ran into some trouble mid-race and I believe slipped down a lap, and whilst did manage to recover from that to the lead lap, was only able to secure 16th place points. So we'll be looking to right the ship again come the next round. Also, a shout out to Heath Mannering in 10th place, the first of the sports silver class drivers home. Next up, we had Euro, where again, starting from pole, Northway took an early lead, though after the first two stints, it was the fusion pair of me and Austin O'Neill who had taken the top spots and eked out a small lead over the pack during a green flag run, though Northway was never too far behind, to be fair. But after some misfortune for me, getting caught up in a lapped car's accident as I came out of the pits, Northway and newcomer Roden Eftink, and I'm sorry if I've butchered that name, simply drove around O'Neill at the restart and pulled away at the front, with clearly the best car speed of the field. Roden had it all under control, though catching lap traffic towards the end of the race after a long green flag run did allow Robert to get into his draft, but ultimately didn't have enough to get past, and so Eftink took the win. O'Neill's third sees his championship lead intact, though there is plenty of competition close behind, well within touching distance with lots of races remaining. And so to Americas, which had 3 splits, and also the pre-race bump session with 15 drivers in a do-or-die 4-lap runoff to make top split. Congratulations to Derek Love, who was the fastest through the bump qualifying, and to all of those who made it into top split. So working up the splits, in split 3, it was an interesting start for those that saw it, with the drama happening even before turn 1 on the formation lap. Now, I am certainly not one to condone people lashing out on the Discord. We should all try and be better than that. However, after being taken out by his fellow front row starter, split 3 pole sitter Rob Love, I think, came up with what has to be the best use of the term Pop-Tart I have ever seen. So bad luck on the crash there, Rob, but don't ever stop being you. In the end, after leading 159 laps, it was Tyler Demon who took home the win. So well done to you, sir. In split 2, the win went to Trevor Vrosky, last year's European Pro Champion, who was a bit unlucky to not get through the bump queue session, and so headed up split 2. Leading nearly half the laps, the winning margin was around 8 seconds after a pretty big green flag run to the end. So well done, Trevor. Be sure to see you back in top split in the next rounds in sports cars. And so to top split. As in all regions, Northway led away from the pole, but found trouble early, which we'll hear a little bit more about later, I'm sure, and so was into the pits to take repairs after only a few minutes. Anna Klemic, who returned for a second Speedway 500 of the weekend, led most of the early running, and with Northway being off strategy, it was the pair of them that took turns leading for most of the race, with nearly 90 laps led each. There was a long stint, maybe 2 full tanks worth, I can't remember exactly, of green flag running to the end. And with the pace that was just way too strong, Klemmick ran away with a 13-second win over fellow newcomer Indy Kirchenbauer. Again, sorry if I've butchered that name. When the strategies came together, it brought Northway back to third place to round off what was an amazing weekend of racing for him, with podiums at all 3 500s, all 1,500 miles completed, and as it turned out, a perfect score of championship points, as only non-pass holders finished in front of him in any of the races, which I am sure is a first that's happened in the majors. Championship leader in America's Austin O'Neill was 6th across the line, but second on points, so a really strong result for him. And congratulations to Andy Banfield as the highest placed sports driver in 15th and still on the lead lap in top split, so well done. So that's a brief rundown of the Speedway 500s for this year. Thanks to all who participated, and we hope you enjoyed the revised structure of the pre-queue that we used for this year. So less than a week following the Speedway 500, we had round 4 of the Sudspeed MEC, also at Indy, though on the road course, for a 4-hour event. Now, I will say that Split 1 was absolutely mental, with so much going on for the full 4 hours. 3 safety cars, a heck of a lot of protests, controversy with rules and post-race penalties, and when it was all said and done, some pretty familiar faces at the front come the end. In GTP, we had an Italian 1-2 with Tatum Restec taking both the top spots, though this time it was the 69 team in front of the currently championship-leading 96 car. In third was MK Nexus Esports, second place runners in the standings as of now. All 3 of those cars on the podium were separated by less than a second at the line in what was an amazing final sprint to the finish. I'd also like to give a shout out to Sorrento Motorsports 001, who led a good portion of the race but found drama late on and were pushed down the order after some penalties were assessed post-race. In LMP2, it was the Maradna squad who took the win, ahead of the championship leaders Fusion 19 and FZR Sim Sports in third. LMP2 this race was an absolute rollercoaster for just about everyone, with almost every team having a turn leading, then falling back or finding trouble, then safety cars getting them in the game again, and then round the circle it went. It was such a hard race to read, but well done to everybody on getting to the end. In the GT3 class, Negative Delta by SimGear was actually second across the line, but were elevated to the win after Mono Competition were given a post-race time penalty for a late collision with a competitor, seeing them classified instead in P2. Ronan PT came home third, and a shout out to Bill Tong and Bangers, great team name, who were the first Pro-Am car home in fourth. The top 5 cars in GT3 were all different makes of car, showing that the BOP was pretty much spot on for this track, and the first 19 GT3 cars all finished on the lead lap, so it was great to see and made for really interesting viewing. Split 2 winners in GTP were AIT Revolution E-Racing, who won by only 0.4 of a second from Yorkshire Racing Team 4, and GT3 winners in Split 2 were Sunshine Racing. Split 3 LMP2 winners, which was actually Split 2 for that class, there was no LMP2s in Split 2, went to Mad Sim Racing 290, and Axis Sim Sports Blue were the winners in Split 3 for GT3. Now, we're only about a week or so away at the time of recording this for round 5 of the Sudspeed MEC, which we'll preview a little bit more in next week's podcast, another 4-hour race at Watkins Glen. We do welcome any teams who would like to enter as one-offs, so if you're looking to get a head start for the 6-hour special event in a few weeks, come enter a team and enjoy the extra benefits of the MEC of safety cars and live stewarding. Okay, so that's a rundown of the MEC as well. Let's take a breath, and then after this, we talk to the man of the weekend, without a doubt, from the Speedway 500, Robert Northway.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" This is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Speedway 500, as we've spoken about in the last podcast with Bike, is where it all began for Majors. one of the annual jewels on the calendar, this year saw something unique with regard to results, where for the first time in majors, we had the same pole sitter in all three regions. Now, not only that, but our guest for today, Robert Northway, who was the person that took the pole in all three regions, followed that up with an amazing effort by finishing on the podium in all three regions as well, including winning the International Speedway 500. So, firstly, congratulations, Rob, on the win for International, the qualifying performance, and the 1,500 miles of dominating at the Speedway.
Thank you. It was an awesome weekend.
We'll start with the pre-qualifying. What did you make of the change of format this year, which had a week devoted to pre-qualifying in advance of the race week?
Absolutely loved it. Gave the real world Indy 500 vibes, with the first week being mostly about qualifying and the second week concentrating on race setup. Gave that real vibe. It was just disappointing there was no bumping for international or Europe to really add that flavour, but it was still, I think we're on to a winner with that format.
The pole time that you set to secure top spot for Americas, which was the last region that you secured pole for, you did that in the very last session of the week. How was the nerves going into that last run?
To be fair, the nerves weren't too high during the run. I had already committed to buying the 2 extra runs, so I had 4 runs up my sleeve, and I got to really where I was hoping to be in that top 2 or 3. So that last run was just a full-on, nothing to lose, full-on send it. Where the nerves came in was watching the likes of Anna and co trying to beat it and coming very close. So, yeah, I was more nervous watching than I was doing the run, believe it or not.
3 pole positions secured. Come the international race, which was the first one, what were your expectations? Races are quite different to qualifying around here. So what was the plan going in?
It was a little bit of a trip into the unknown. You're talking about nerves before. I was probably more nervous for the race because I hadn't done a Indy race with the hybrids yet, so I didn't know how they were going to run the extra weight, a little bit extra top speed. Didn't know if it was going to become a single file track position race. And it was just a trip into the unknown, so I was very nervous.
Can you take us through how the race went for you? You led early on. There were some long green flag runs in there, some back and forth with the likes of Cam Dance and Anna as well. How did you get yourself to the front when it mattered for that last 30 laps?
I want to say it was all skill and good driving, good setup, but it was actually a fair bit of luck. I had dropped down to 4th behind Darts, Anna and Matthew Pluck, and I was just couldn't get my way forward. But then I pitted a lap after Darts and Pluck, and as I pitted, the safety car came out. I managed to jump them because of the safety car. So that put me in second and gave me that chance to get Anna.
Now, I saw a post on the Discord that once the race was over and you had that with somebody asked if you were going to be drinking the milk as the winners in the real life do. I believe that did happen.
Yeah, definitely did. Big glass of milk. I was a little bit nervous with that as well, being dairy intolerant. So I was worried I was going to get a bit of a vomiting situation or something like that. But lucky that stayed away. I was ready to go for the Euro. Maybe lucky I didn't win the Euro and the Americas, because then I probably would have been sick if I had to drink more milk.
Yeah, I'm glad that there was no health impacts for you from racing in the majors. So on to Euro, starting at the front again, but obviously a different set of competitors. How did that race pan out for you? Found yourself behind a couple of cars after the first stint. How did the car start to behave once you got into that dirty air?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't favourable. My setup was definitely clearly more suited to being in the fresh air. But it wasn't too bad. I did make some changes from the international to the Euro, and it did help. Not enough, but it was better.
Now, of course, the leader coming up towards halfway in the European race got taken out by a lap car crashing in front of them as they came out of the pit lane, and they were clearly going to go off and dominate and win. That's a complete lie, but that's what happened to me. But once I was out of your way, which was probably not a concern for you at all, but you seem to be able to control things mostly after that, perhaps with the exception of Roden once he hit the front.
Yeah, he had a bit of a rocket ship. So he was probably better in dirty air than I was, and I was better in clean air. So once we hit lap traffic, he managed to jump me, and I was always on the back foot from there, especially for the long green flag run to the end. I got back to him right in the closing stages, but of course that dirty air made it really difficult. Enough that I hit the wall, I think, 3 times in the last couple of laps.
You don't want to J.R. Hildebrand it once you put all of that effort in. So you've now had a win, you've had a second place, and moving on to the Americas race. Now, it's probably the strongest field of the 3, to be fair, as far as depth is concerned. But again, starting from the front, But the start and the first stint for this race didn't quite go to plan, did it?
No, it definitely did not. The first 15 laps or so were really good. Leading, just cruising up front, knowing Anna was going to be pretty quick on the tail. But we were both pulling away for the rest of the field, so I was cruising. But I think having already done over 1,000 miles, I think 1,600 kilometres, 400 laps, had taken its toll, and I lost concentration and hit the wall, I think coming off of turn one. And it wasn't a mistake because I was pushing too hard. I just lost concentration, slid up into the wall, and then had to make a pit stop because of the meatball, and it was on the back foot from then.
So once you found yourself on that alternate strategy, how did you manage to work it to get yourself back up the pointy end or close to it once it really mattered? Now, this race was also a bit hotter as well. So did you have some setup tweaks that helped with that once you're into the dirty air of being off strategy? Or how did you manage to still make it work, even though it had gone bad early?
Well, as soon as it happened, I got forced into making one or two calls. First one being potentially to try and get back on the same pitch cycle as everyone else, which would have, I'm guessing, landed me about 8th or 10th, and in the dirty air and the absolute bub fight that would have been. Or I could make the choice to stay off strategy for the rest of the race, and then hopefully just cautions, just good timing will get me back to the front. And I ended up choosing the latter, which seemed to work out all right. Not as well as I'd hoped, but pretty close to it.
So ultimately, got back to third place, an amazing result. 3 podium finishes, 1,500 miles. You must have been absolutely spent by the end of it.
Yeah, both mentally and physically. On the mental side, it obviously played out hitting that wall in the Americas and damaging the car. So yeah, mentally I was pretty knackered. Physically, I was very sore on my right wrist, naturally doing the most of the work turning to the left the whole time. I put it this way, I had to be in a wrist brace for the following week. I was just so sore.
Well, hopefully you've got Racers medical insurance or something, whatever, to help you with that. You've been with Major Series for a number of years. One of the more recent things that you've done is join the competition committee. Can you tell us a bit about what was behind that move to the CC?
Just the passion for the majors. I absolutely love the series. I love the type of event. I'm a drive it all type of guy. So I have a real passion for the majors, and I wanted to give back several years of driving, and I wanted to be part of the team. And I'm also like to help shape the direction it wants to go in.
Where would you like to see the series go in the next few years, and what role do you think you'll play in it?
I like to think I'm a bit of an ideas guy. I'm always going to have ideas on races that we could do and direction that we could go with the scheduling. But also I want to keep pushing the social media side. I think that's already made a few gains, getting new people involved, because I'd love to see the majors get back to the numbers we had not long after COVID, where we were getting 2 splits quite regularly for international and Europe, and then getting to the 3+ mark and most rounds for America. So I'd love to get to see those numbers grow again.
We have the Majors 24 coming up in a couple of weeks, the biggest event that Majors puts on each year. What's your plans around that event for this year? Driving, admin, both? Yeah, what's the Majors 24 going to look like for Robert Northway?
As much as I would love to do both, I think there might be divorce papers in my future if I was to try and put 12 to 18 hours on a single day. So it'll depend on a couple of things of what I do. Depends if the KSR boys, which car we go for, we get a team. If we go GT3, I've got probably no interest in running. If we go prototype, I'm there. If I don't run, I will definitely be part of the stewards or the whole running of the event in sub capacity.
Now, looking back to the very beginning, can you remember how you found Majors in the first place all those years ago?
I think it was a genuine case of I saw it being going to be broadcast on Sim Speed. I think it was V8 Online still back then, but on their coverage, I saw it coming up, and I thought it looks like a bit of me when I dug deeper with the different cars every round and all that. Yeah, I signed up and haven't looked back since.
Now, outside of sim racing, I know you follow a lot of motorsport, certainly down our neck of the woods, and also internationally. What's your go-to series to watch of a weekend? Or is it just everything?
Deep down, there's a bit of everything if I've got the time. Although there's probably 2 series or 3 series I don't miss. First one being supercars, which is natural in my part of the world. It's the only one I don't have to be able to silly a clock to watch. Second one I actually don't miss at the moment is NASCAR, but not necessarily the Cup Series. I'm probably loving the Xfinity Series, or O'Reilly, should I say now. I just feel like it's more traditional NASCAR. It's a real good watch. But my main love in real world motorsport is the absolute lunatics of the MotoGP world. I don't miss a race. I don't miss a race live. It doesn't matter how tired it makes me for work on Monday. I'm up at 1 a.m. to watch those races.
There's certainly been a lot of amazing things going on in all of those series at the moment. Were you a NASCAR fan before SVG got over there, or is his move over there in the last few years really piqued your interest in NASCAR?
It brought me back to NASCAR. I drifted away before SVG came into it. Now I've been brought well back in. But put it this way, there's a reason my victory celebration is get to the start-finish line, turn around and do a lap the wrong way around, the old Polish victory lap, because Alan Kowicki was my first motorsport hero. So that shows how long I've been watching for.
You mentioned MotoGP, and there's probably a number of people that do follow that as well. Not that we get a chance to do that from a sim perspective, because I can't even imagine what the rigs would have to be like for motorbikes on a computer. But have you ever had a chance to go to a MotoGP race?
That's the one major motorsport I've wanted to tick off that I haven't been able to get to. I'm really eyeing up going to Phillip Island this year. As much as Adelaide, should say, it probably will be the Bend, but as much as Adelaide or the Bend will be good, Phillip Island's special, so I'm just trying to make it work so I can make it there this year.
So, other than spectating, have you ever actually competed in some real-world racing, other than New Zealand or elsewhere?
Because I've played ball sports most of my life, I've never really got myself around to doing it. I've always done other things. It's always been on the radar, but between playing cricket, playing field hockey, I used to do ballroom dancing. I never really had the time nor the funds to invest in it. And now I've got a family. If I'm going to get involved, I'll probably be getting one of the boys a go-kart. So no, unfortunately I haven't. I have only done one kind of motorsport event, which is more of a club event, doing a gymkhana, and I won that. So maybe I just leave it at that. I won my first motorsport event and never do it again.
You recently attended the Supercars race in Christchurch. How was that from a spectator's point of view? It's a bit of an old school circuit. Lots of grass. You can see most of the track from a lot of places. Yeah, how was it for a first time at Christchurch?
Oh, it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. I've been to a few Supercars events, and I've been to Taupo. I went to the old Hamilton Street race, and this is the first one that gives you even close to the vibes that Pocky did. I think because of the old school nature, it just gives you different vibe. I tell you what, watching it in person, especially at Pothole, on TV, they look boring and in control. When you're there in person, they're absolutely wild. It's absolutely insane how they're throwing them through there in person. And on the positive note, it's the first time in my whole life I haven't had to jump on a plane to go see international level motorsport. It was actually kind of nice just to hop in the car and drive down the road for the first time.
Pukekohe should be coming to iRacing here at some point. They scanned it before it became no more, much like they did for Oran Park. So I definitely think that's a round that we're going to need to have a Supercars round there once that gets released.
You've got to bring back the old Mobile 500 they used to run there in conjunction with the Wellington Street race. So you could do a 500-kilometre race around Pocky. That wouldn't be challenging, would it?
I think that there'd be a lot of people that would enjoy it, but it would be chaos.
100%. It's a wicked track. It was such an awesome track and so fast. I think before they put the chicane down the back straight, it was actually the fastest average speeds of any supercars round. It was like 20k per hour faster than Bathurst. It was such a high-speed track.
Basically, you had 3 corners before they put the chicane in.
And I think only one of them was a really slow corner. The run up over the hill was pushing 200 k's. Turn 1 was over 200 k's. So even the corners were fast.
Yeah, it's one of the better circuits for supercars to show what they can actually do. Street circuits are great for bringing it to the people and so forth, but get them on some fast corners, and they do show themselves to be some pretty awesome things to drive. Now, look, just conscious of time, so bringing it back to the majors, I mentioned in the preview, running through the results, all the drivers who finished in front of you were non-season pass holders from the Speedway 500. So from a championship points perspective, it was a perfect weekend. What is your aim for the championships in each region this year?
because of my horrible start in international, like I just had, 3 bad rounds out of the first 4. I am just going with the flow. I'm just there for race wins and top 3s and top 5s. Euro, I actually had a look, and I think no one's had a real good run, so I'm going up the fact that even though I missed 2 rounds, I might still have a sniff of a shot, although often it's going to be difficult to catch. But my real goal going into this season is still very achievable, and that was I want to join the 100 Start Club. I think I'm 8 away from that, and the other one was to make 50 top 5, so I think I'm now 6 away from that. So that's my main goal, is to get those top 5s and then make at least 8 more starts this season.
We typically have new members of the 100 Club join us on Inside the Majors. So if you're only 8 away, it might not be a long time before you come back for another visit. So I'll look forward to having that chat with you where we might be able to look backwards a little bit further than we have mostly for today. But look, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on your Speedway 500 win, your amazing Speedway 500 weekend, the success that you've had in the past, and also what you're doing to help push the series along generally with your efforts with the competition committee. Yeah, thanks for joining us today on Inside the Majors.
And not a problem, I enjoyed it. Thank you for putting it on.
And for asking all the questions twice, because I'm a dumb fuck.
Please tell me you got some way of putting that into the podcast.
Look, there's lots of things that I'm good at. Apparently pushing record buttons isn't one of them.
Well, at least know for next time if I don't see that third window in the...
Yeah, you can poke me and just go,
Okay.
Gary, you're being a dumbass again. Fucking push record.